Good afternoon, members of the Committee of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, other members of Parliament present, support staff, radio listeners, TV viewers, and those following via social media. Welcome to this committee meeting number 3 of today, Tuesday, August 26th, 2025. I would like to give a special welcome to the representatives of Blackwell Holdings BV, also known as SXM Taxi. We have established a quorum of 4 factions. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of absence from the following committee members: MP Sarah Westcott Williams, MP Shamida Roseberg, and MP Rayon Peterson. And also latest notice of lateness from the following members: MP Lyndon Lewis. Are there any notifications at this moment? Yes. I see MP Waiver requested the floor. You may have the floor, MP Waiver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to the griffier, my honorable colleagues, panel sitting across from us, and those listening and viewing via whichever media, and those that are present here with us today. I would just like to share condolences to the family of the late Mr. Albert Richardson, a prominent figure in the Ebenezer area. Much strength to his family. And Mr. Shonari Richardson, who's the son, who's also works for the ambulance department. So I wish him much strength during this time. I would also like to wish condolences for the passing of Mr. Henry Brookson, to his family, to his wife Agnes, his children Myrto and Mervyn Brookson, for the loss of their father and the husband, and impactful person within this entire community, as a former student of Sis Marie-Laurent School, and shared many memories with him as he was the principal there, and also growing up as a political figure. He also quite often reached out to me to give some advice. So condolences to the entire family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Waiver. Seeing that there are no more notifications, thank you for the notification, MP Waiver. The agenda point for this committee meeting is the presentation by SXM Taxi on its smart transportation solution for St. Maarten's taxi industry. We go over to the agenda point. On June 2nd, 2025, Parliament received a letter from Blackwell Holdings BV, also known as SXM Taxi, with the request for an audience to discuss the above-mentioned agenda point. This document is registered as an incoming document IS 1108-2024-2025 and can be found in Teams, the Parliament General Folder. Hence, this meeting of today. At this time, I would like to give the floor to the representatives of Blackwell Holdings BV for some introductory remarks and presentation. I give the floor to Ms. Lisa Gums.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon to the honorable members of Parliament and those in the Tribune and all listening or watching on social media. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here today. It's truly an honor to present SXM Taxi, not just as a mobile app, but as a homegrown solution built in St. Maarten by locals, for locals, and visitors alike. At the end of this presentation, you will have learned who we are and the importance of having this app, SXM Taxi, in our country. The final goal of this presentation is endorsement and full support by Parliament and Government of St. Maarten. Our island, as you know, faces long-standing challenges in transportation: limited taxi availability, inconsistent service, fare confusion, and difficult for both residents and tourists in accessing reliable rides. SXM Taxi was created to exactly address that. We are proud to share that our app is already operating successfully, helping hundreds of daily riders to move around the island with ease. And we've done it without charging a single cent in commission to taxi drivers or government. all base fare earnings go directly to the taxi drivers as it should. As of today, we have successfully completed over 3,365 rides, signed up 272 drivers, and acquired over 12,556 riders, number that continue to grow daily. This is a clear sign that our people are ready for a modern and reliable and transparent transport option. More importantly, we are here proud to support our local community first. Since launch, we've implemented a 20% discount for all verified island residents. When we launched it, it was first 50%, but now that we're going into the high season, is 25%. This isn't just a promotion. It's a permanent feature that will help working families, students, and seniors to access affordable, safe, and traceable transportation. Every ride taken by a verified resident is highlighted for the driver, which means once the ride comes into the application, it is highlighted. All right? The fact that it's a local fare, and they can choose whether they are not want to take the discounted fare. This goes for the driver. This initiative is also greatly to help with the gypsy problem that we have here in Sint Maarten, unauthorized taxi drivers. Over 500 locals already have signed up to this feature in just the past 60 days. After a night out of drinking, we can get you home safely as taxi drivers. We are also here preparing to launch dedicated shuttle system designed for hotels, school, and businesses to manage group transport efficiency. The upcoming feature will allow the organization to pre-schedule rides, track vehicles in real time, and reduce congestion by consolidating passenger trips in fewer vans. It is a practical tool that we believe that will help ease the peak traffic, reduce vehicle uses, and support local employers and institutions and businesses, while keeping operations fully transparent and under control. As soon as possible, we'll be adding an optional share ride feature, whereas you can, if you're going to the same direction, you could share rides. Riders going in the same direction would also be able to split costs, helping reduce emissions and make more travel accessibility. Drivers can opt in and out freely. The goal is to offer more choices, not limitation, while building a transport model that works for everyone. Beyond daily rides, we submitted full proposal to both major taxi associations. I'm talking about the DSTA, the Dutch St. Maarten Taxi Association, and the Airport Taxi Association. Our system at the airport and cruise port will allow for app-based and kiosk-based bookings, generating a new source of revenues for the association and the drivers, the airport and cruise port, without disrupting their dispatching traditions. Every ride originated from the port areas will generate a predetermined amount for the organization automatically with full transparency and no additional cost to the driver. This is similar to how the other rideshare apps are in, let me say, the port calls of the US and Europe or in overseas. Our platform remains completely driver-friendly. We do not charge the driver's commission. Instead, the app implies a modest industry standards fee to the rider's fare, along with a small transaction fee, clearly visible before booking. It's sustainable fare model that supports everyone involved, the rider, the driver, and the system that connects them. Lastly, and very important, we aim not only to offer convenience and safety, but to actively contribute to the crime prevention on our island. With SXM Taxi, every driver and rider is digitally verified. Every trip is tracked in real time, and full ride of history is stored securely, so which means we have a backend that's holding all this information. This creates a transparent and accountable transportation system that deters misconduct, supports law enforcement when needed, and helps resolve incidents quickly. But our impact goes further, because riders no longer need to wait on the street or in the corner in unsafe areas wondering when or if a taxi will arrive. With our real-time tracking, passengers can also stay indoors or in secure locations until a driver is confirmed at a pickup point, reducing exposure to petty crimes and unsafe situations. And perhaps just important, passengers can no longer unknowingly hail an unauthorized gypsy cab, which has unfortunately become a big problem in busy zones here in Sint Maarten. Our app eliminates the risk by connecting users only with approved, identifiable, location-verified drivers, all operating under the official St. Maarten taxi license system. We are not here to request funding. We are here to present the solution to Parliament and government. for local taxi drivers. We are here to offer a transparent and proven and community-driven platform to the government of Sint Maarten free of charge that already work, including a dedicated backend for government to also save database and could serve even more people with your support and collaboration. With that being said, I would like to present to you the presentation of the SXM Taxi app.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gomes. So to who can I give the floor? Yourself? Okay, perfect.
All right. Current taxi transport situation in Sint Maarten. Inconsistent service, delays, frequent delays, and limited taxi availability. Here in Sint Maarten, in certain areas when we go to hail a taxi, sometimes it's difficult when it's busy to get a taxi. With the SXM Taxi app, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get availability of a taxi driver. No hassles of bookings when it comes to getting rides. So you won't have to worry about getting someone to call a taxi for you. On the application, you could just simply request a taxi. Unpredictable and varying fares. When it comes to disputes on how much the ride costs, on the SXM Taxi app will verify it and send a receipt to the driver and rider when it comes to hailing a taxi. And it will also not give a negative impact on the local residents or taxi drivers here on the island if a situation occurs. Convenient mobile app booking. Here in St. Maarten, it's very convenient to have the SXM Taxi, just as if you're going to a foreign country. You could hail a taxi with ease right on your phone. No more waiting on the phone or in lines here on the island of St. Maarten, which is one of the smallest islands with the SXM Taxi app. Real-time GPS rides. So you could track your driver, and it's giving you the accurate location of every driver, so which means from point A to point B, the rider would also know how long it's going to take for the taxi driver to get to their location, and the driver will also know how long it's going to take to get to the guest. Secure payments and ratings. Pay for your ride securely through the app and leave ratings for your driver. So in case of any situation when it comes to a taxi driver getting a ride here in St. Maarten, the rider could also rate the driver, just in case of a situation. I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. Anthony Piacquadio, which is an app developer, so that he could explain how the app works for riders.
Hello. Yes, Ms. Gomes, thank you very much. I would have to pass on the floor to Mr. Piacquadio. So, Mr. Piacquadio, you may have the floor.
Thank you so much. And once again, thank you all for having us to give this presentation today. So the app works for riders. I'm sure everyone here has used rideshare apps in the US or overseas. Works very similar to Uber or Lyft. Basically, you put your location, you then put your destination, and the app will connect you to any drivers that are in your vicinity. As you can see by the second screenshot there, the estimated fares are very transparent, and it shows our service fee as well as our transaction fee. So the rider will understand and know exactly what they're getting themselves into and how much they're paying prior to clicking the connection button. We offer a completely cashless system. So once the rider puts in their credit card information, and you select which type of taxi you would like to take, you have the choice of van, sedan, or SUV, and also now we've added the luxury vehicle feature. So you can also pick a luxury van or a luxury SUV. Once that happens, you confirm your ride details, number of passengers, number of luggage, and that will connect you to the driver, and then the driver will be on his way to pick you up. I'm going to pass this back to Lisa now for the driver section.
Thank you very much, Mr. Piacquadio. Ms. Lisa Gomes, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. For driver's registration, okay, this app was created especially and only for taxi drivers here on the island of St. Maarten. Why? Because we're not a big country that we could say we could offer it for individuals to just anyone drive taxi on a small island like St. Maarten. And when it comes to registration of taxi drivers on the SXM Taxi app, is only for taxi drivers, licensed taxi drivers of the island of St. Maarten. So how does it go? How does a taxi driver could actually register to the SXM Taxi app? They will have to enter their phone number so that we could verify the phone number. They will also have to put a picture of their face so the riders could also know who is coming for them. They will have to enter their first name, last name, their gender, their taxi license. Definitely, we need a copy of their taxi license, a copy of their ID, the expiration date of their ID. We also gonna need a picture of the front and back of their vehicle. And exactly, we need to know which taxi number they are. All right? After you click continue, how does it work for the driver? They will have to go through the safety guidelines. We have safety guidelines also on the app. After that, in receiving, accepting rides on the SXM Taxi app, it would clearly explain you, it would tell you accept the amount that you're accepting, the pickup location, and also the drop-off location. If you are confused or you don't know exactly where you're gonna pick up the guest, the arrow right to the right, you can click it and it will show you exactly the distance between the rider and the driver or the driver and the rider. Secondly, after you complete the ride, it would send a receipt to the guest and also to the driver so that they could actively know how much they earned during that ride, how long it took. They could also know, they could have a record of what was the date, when they picked them up, when they dropped them off. And they could also get tip on the app, all right? The benefits to St. Maarten is a modernized taxi industry. It brings structure, transparency, and digital reliable to existing taxi operations. Now, we are not here to compete against the associations here in St. Maarten. We are here to bring more options to the guests that's traveling to the island of St. Maarten. So a safer tourist experience. We reduce scams and confusion and verify drivers, fixed pricing, and real-time tracking for the guests that are coming here to St. Maarten. It increases tourism appeals. It improves the tourist experience by offering reliable transportation options. Better use of resources. Maximizes efficiency and licensed taxi drivers by reducing idle time. So which means taxi drivers who are out there, let's say, hustling, trying to get a fare, it would just, if they have the SXM Taxi app downloaded to their phone, they would have more option on receiving rides instead of idling, creating more traffic, burning more gas. The 25% discount for island residents. Now, this feature was kind of like created to give back to the local community and to kind of like minimize the gypsy cab situation here in St. Maarten, giving the local students more opportunities of getting a real licensed taxi driver to pick them up. To be accepted in this feature for the 25% discount, you have to go through an approval process. So you as a local, you must upload your ID card, actually verifying that you are a local of the island of St. Maarten so that you could be able to use this feature. Of course, approved by your admin, all right? So once approved, your app will be activated. So the app for the 25% discount for locals cannot be used unless it's approved by an admin, all right? Driver recognition, so which means for the taxi driver, once the ride from a local comes into the taxi driver app, it will show into a different color, and they will know this is a discounted fare, kind of like giving back to the St. Maarten community. Benefits to the tourists. Convenience. The SXM Taxi app is a major convenience because most guests traveling to our islands are already accustomed of using mobile applications. Is on-demand bookings without language barriers. Transparency. So is clear prices and no negotiation hassles. So the bargain, let's say when a rider comes to a taxi driver, cuts out the bargain, so they will actually pay the fare that is corresponded to the taxi driver. Safety, verified background checks for drivers, and in-app tracking of rides. So you can track the rider and the driver while you're sitting in a taxi, you could track your driver, see if they're going into the right direction. Enhancing experiences, more time to explore the island without transport delays. So when it comes to the traffic situation here in St. Maarten, using the SXM Taxi app, it would actually give you the opportunity to know how long it's going to take to get to every location. It's real-time tracking that help reduce crime by minimizing street-side waiting and discouraging tourists from using unauthorized taxis services here in St. Maarten. Mr. Chairman, I would like to pass the mic over to Mr. Piaquadio.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gums. Mr. Piaquadio, you may have the floor.
Thank you so much. So we just added this feature. It's a luxury vehicle category. As we know, there's a lot of people that travel to this island that like to travel in style. So with this, there's a premium pricing situation, which would be 2x the normal taxi fares. This is also made very clear in our pricing structure before you actually book the taxi. Rider selection. Riders can easily choose the luxury category when booking, ensuring they get the premium experience they desire. So they have the option and the choice: luxury SUV, luxury van, or, of course, a regular vehicle. Exclusive access. Strict admin approval is required for any driver or vehicle to join the luxury pool, maintaining quality and exclusivity. So we have to approve that vehicle. So we are only approving top quality vehicles for this feature. Dynamic adjustments. Administrators have the flexibility to adjust the luxury fare multiplier dynamically via a dedicated control panel. So that's our back-end system. At the end of this presentation, if you'd like us to show you a little bit of the back-end system, we can do that as well. We're prepared for that. We just didn't add it into this particular presentation. So you can request that if you'd like. Driver flexibility. Luxury drivers have the option to accept standard fare rides during off-peak times, maximizing their earning potential. So the luxury drivers can also act as a regular taxi if they like to. They have a taxi license. If they want to pick up a regular fare because they're off-peak, they don't have any luxury fares available, they can do that as well. Ideal clientele. This category is perfectly suited for VIP services, corporate clients, and high-end tourism looking for an elevated travel experience. Again, bringing back an allure of St. Maarten, where now they can come here, they can use the app, and feel comfortable for any type of transport needs. I'm going to pass it back now to Lisa again.
Thank you, Mr. Piaquadio.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to take this slide as well. So how does SXM Taxi maintain the platform? This has been a question since we started the business. We recently lowered our fees. We weren't sure what the market would bear. We figured that now we're at a much more smooth 15% service fee. It's a one fee situation. It's applied only to passengers for all app-based rides to cover operational cost, continuous platform support, and to ensure seamless service and ongoing feature development for the app. We also charge a small credit card processing fee. This is, again, so that the drivers are benefited so they don't have to pay any fees for using our service. And that's basically whatever the banks charge, we charge the fee back. And there is no hidden charges. All of this is upfront, and the riders benefit from full transparency, which is displayed at booking, while the drivers are still obviously assured 100% of their fares. Fees charged are consistent with industry standards and help ensure app sustainability and continuous improvement without negatively impacting the driver's income. Okay, now I'm going to pass it back to Lisa.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gums, you may have the floor.
All right. The benefits to the taxi drivers. It increases ride opportunities, more rides to the app, particularly from tourists. So let me say we are in the low season. The app gives more ride opportunity. It also gives you more time for you to organize yourself. You could be anywhere and receive a ride through the app and go on the ride. Fair pricing, no disputes, is a transparent fair system, prevents overcharging disputes when it comes to riders and drivers. Driver support, so you could rate your driver. the app support and customer service. You could also rate your driver on the app. Improve earnings, so reduce downtime and optimizing routes lead to higher incomes. So once you're on the app, you have way more opportunities to get rides so that you don't have to be waiting or standing in line at any association to get a job. Mr. Chairman, I would like to pass the floor back to Mr. Piaquadio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Piaquadio. You may have the floor.
Thank you so much. Safety and security features of the app. This is very important. We use a very strict OTP verification system, OTP standing for one-time passcode. SXM Taxi ensures safety with OTP verification for both riders and drivers. So what happens here is once you connect with a driver, the rider is given an OTP code, which is a 4-digit code. Once that driver gets to the location of the rider then shares the OTP code with the driver, and then the ride can begin. Without that OTP code, there's no connection. The rider and the driver will know, okay, this is not the cab or the taxi I should have got into. Something's wrong here, or vice versa. If the driver pulls up and somebody just jumps in and says, hey, take me to where I have to go, and they say, well, what's your OTP code? And they say, what's that? They already know that there's no, that's not the correct rider for that particular ride. We also offer an in-app SOS system. The SOS feature sends a distress email and automatically calls emergency services. In this case, we've directed the phone call to the police department here on St. Maarten. So if somebody hits the SOS feature on the app, if you look to the right there, it says, I am Tony Stark. I'm in an emergency taking SXM Taxi app's rideshare service. I need help. It displays the number and the location of the rider. That email comes to us. We can then monitor it. We can then also follow up with emergency services. We'll know their exact location, so on and so forth. But it also calls directly to the police department in St. Maarten. So it's a two-faceted SOS system. Okay. I'm going to now pass it back to my colleague and partner, Lisa.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gomes. You may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Potential contributions to tourism and public mobility, collaborative possibilities. So we are open to discuss or have a dialogue with government when it comes to reliable, safe taxi services for visitors, tourist engagement, help visitors access trusted, transparent taxi services across the island, and anonymous ride data can support transport and planning decisions. So which means the SXM Taxi app has no problem having a back-end built for government so that they could be able to also see the amount of tourists coming into St. Maarten, the amount of rides that's coming out of the SXM Taxi app also. All right. Improving the transportation infrastructure. Data from, let me say, 12,000 plus riders and 270 drivers already using the app can now inform traffic and planning decisions. All right. So this is the part where we can show you guys the backend so that you guys can see exactly how the SXM Taxi app works behind the scenes. Is real-time insights, get real-time insights on driver location, ride activities, and system performance. Centralized control, manage the entire transportation network from a single dashboard, including driver alignments, route optimization, and customer support. Mr. Chairman, can I pass the floor on to Mr. Piaquadio?
Thank you very much, Ms. Gomes. Mr. Piaquadio, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Is this a good time? Would you like to see the back end, how the back end works?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Piaquadio.
Okay. So this is the dashboard. This is the initial dashboard. This shows you all of your current information, the rides that were taken, the total drivers, passengers, top 10 drivers, et cetera. This gives you all that kind of information. It gives you certain charts to see, pie charts and so on and so forth for how the company earned and so on and so forth. We have a passenger manager. This shows all of the active passengers. So as you can see, this passenger is 13,832. So this gives you all the information on the passenger themselves. Once we click through the next screen, see their name, you see how much, the number of rides they took, the last time they connected, so on and so forth. So all of the data is there for all of the passengers. You also have a driver manager. This shows you the active drivers, inactive drivers, so on and so forth. Who's unapproved, who's approved to drive based on the fact that maybe they may have tried to sign up, they didn't have the proper credentials, so on and so forth.
Show them the trips manager.
Yes. So this is Trips Manager. So this shows exactly, if you look at this, your trip has an ID number, what type of trip it is, the passenger name, the driver name, trip date, from location to location, the distance of the trip. This is something else that I wanted to bring up. Some of the taxi drivers have complained a little bit to us about the way that the zone pricing is structured. So we can solve that problem. Also, we can help to solve that problem where if they're using the app, you can do an actual mileage-based fare system. If down the line, which I think may benefit the drivers in the long run, based on the fact that sometimes if you're in the beginning of a zone or the end of a zone, it's the same price, but it's a pretty big zone. So they're missing some potential income there, and for the rider as well. So we also have a promo manager. This is important too because our system can blast out notifications. Here's our notification system. So all of our whole platform.
Sorry, Mr. Piaquadio, if I just may interrupt shortly. In presenting, because we are presenting to the public of St. Maarten as well, if we could just limit the amount of private information with individuals' names and whatnot shown.
Okay, no problem.
All right, so you may have the floor once again, Mr.
Okay.
Piaquadio.
All right, then I'm going to go back to the presentation because obviously there is some private information here that's in this in the back-end system. But I think you get the idea, and you can ask some questions about it later if you need to. We'll come back to the presentation now. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yes. Can you please pass the floor back to Lisa? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piaquadio. Ms. Guns, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're going to discuss right now the future upgrades that we have coming up for the SXM Taxi app. So we will be introducing a ride share feature. Optional ride sharing, riders can choose to share the trip with other travelers that going in the same direction. Smart matching. The app intelligently matches riders based on the proximity of their pickup and drop-off location as well as timing. Dynamic fare split. The total fare is automatically calculated and split amongst the riders, dynamically adjusting based on each other passengers' route distance. Optimize multiple stop routes, GPS routes, and efficient optimized for multiple stops and ensuring the quick and most direct path for all shared passengers. Co-passengers ratings. Riders can rate their co-passengers also. Once you're sharing a taxi with a co-passengers, you can opt out the feature shared, and the individuals can desire to leave a comment also. Cost-effective and eco-friendly, this feature will reduce individuals' ride costs, improve overall transportation efficiency, and promote a more sustainable mode of travelers. Shuttle services. So this is for the businesses here in St. Maarten. The SXM Taxi app platform provides businesses with a sample, powerful way to schedule shuttles with taxi drivers using pre-approved SXM Taxi licensed drivers and vans. Shuttle request management, business owners request shuttle rides in advance using licensed taxi drivers, shuttle drivers. Passengers and contact upload their names, emails, phone numbers of shuttle riders and entered by the business, and alerts automatically sent to all passengers. Real-time alerts and time window. Passengers are notified to arrive within 15 minutes window at the pickup location. Drivers are alerted via the app. Multi-stop flexibility. Shuttles may include multiple stops and pickup points per trip, depending on the route and the business needs. Web-based dashboard. All bookings and rider info are managed through secure backend panel, accessible to each business. So, we're gonna introduce soon the kiosk at, let's say, the hotels on the island of St. Maarten, where it's gonna be much more easier for travelers that come to St. Maarten to hail a taxi, which it wouldn't be necessary to actually download the SXM Taxi app. Affiliated panel and kiosk access for the airport, seaport, hotels, here on the island of St. Maarten. I'm gonna pass the floor back to Mr. Piaquadio, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Combs. Mr. Piaquadio, you may have the floor.
Thank you. So we are currently, this is what we had pitched to the airport and the seaport recently. We sent them a proposal. We're trying to do a ride setup feature via web or kiosk. So basically what would happen is as a passenger would come out of the airport, just like you have that wonderful passport entry system, which, I mean, I do a lot of traveling, and this is one of the most technologically advanced entry points that I've ever been involved. I mean, it's really done specifically and well. But, you know, you come out of there and then, you know, it's back to the old original hailing of cabs, you know, or, you know, a line system. So what we can do is we can offer a kiosk, which doesn't burden the passenger. They don't have to actually download an app or do anything. They can just come out, they enter their information, their destination. The kiosk knows it's at the airport or at the seaport or at the hotel or wherever. And they would just put in their information of where their destination is. The kiosk would give them a printout, as well as send them a text message and an email of, you know, they would have a special OTP code, again, which would connect them to the driver. And what this system actually does as well is we can help create a more efficient way for the associations to pick up the passengers. So it's again, technology in its finest. I had mentioned this, the instant confirmation with the OTP. The passengers receive a printed receipt, SMS, and email. Flexible payment options. What we would do if we were going to work you know, on a larger scale with, let's say, airport or seaport, is we would reintroduce a cash feature back to the app. We had made it a cashless system because it was easier to track and easier to deal with, you know, with the back end for now. But if we were going to do it on a bigger scale, we can add a cash feature back into the system for passengers who may not want to put it on their credit card or want to pay the driver cash, so on and so forth. We also have a secure card hold system. A credit card hold is always placed, if they're not using cash, a credit card hold would be placed so that we're assured that the driver's getting their payments and so on and so forth. I had mentioned this as well. It's a no force policy. We're not forcing anybody to download our app. It's a kiosk system. It runs through the same system that our application runs through, but we're not making anybody download an application that doesn't want to. Commission payouts for affiliates, this is what Lisa had mentioned earlier, where we can work out some sort of a fee or a fare for either the association or the airport, for having the kiosks available to the passengers. I know I travel a lot, and when I use Uber at JFK, or if I use Uber in New York, there's always some sort of an airport charge or some sort of a fee associated with airport travel. So we can also add that to help benefit the airport, the port, or the associations. And again, ideal for key locations, restaurants, bars, hotels, obviously in ports of call. I will hand it back to Lisa for the conclusion of our proposal.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gomes, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, so the conclusion of this presentation is kind of like transforming the transportation, modernizing St. Maarten transportation infrastructure through innovative technology, convenient for tourists and locals, offering a seamless and secure transport experience for visitors, supporting local taxi drivers, enabling fair pricing, increasing earnings, and driver support through a transparent platform. Call to action, embrace the app, and join the movement to make St. Maarten's transportation system more sustainable and efficient. Mr. Chairman, this is the SXM Taxi app presentation. With all that being said, we also brought documentation to prove and show the island of St. Maarten, the legality of the SXM Taxi app. We also brought the shareholders registry, what it was before and what it is now. We also brought the chamber, and we are here open to answer any questions from the honorable members of Parliament.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gomes and Mr. Pierquadio, for the presentation. Before I give the floor to the members, I apologize for not doing this at the beginning. So I'd like to ask, maybe Ms. Gomes, if you can just introduce the individuals sitting beside you, please.
Definitely. All right. So we have to my right, Mr. Anthony Pierquadio is the app developer. Myself, Lisa Gomes, is co-founder and partner of the SXM Taxi app. We have Wilkiria Lisha Gomes, which handles the talent and the marketing of the SXM Taxi app with royalties. And we have Miss Andrea Artiaga, which is the marketing director of the SXM Taxi app.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gomes. So with that said, which member of the Parliament can I give the floor to? I see MP La Cruz would like the floor. MP La Cruz, you may have the floor.
A blessed afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Griffier, my fellow colleagues, I see members of the taxi associations and union in the tribune, and a very, very blessed afternoon to Ms. Gomes, Ms. Archango, and Mr. Pacquiao. Mr. Chairman, through you to the panelists, a relief to actually hear the little intricacies of the taxi app. There was a lot of commotion about it. It was something that we, while in TEATT, thought about, not something that government would be able to do itself, because I don't see that ever happening. I don't see how that would work. But we've all traveled, and we all know that once we reach a foreign country, the first thing we think about is Uber. So the name SXM Taxi app gives me goosebumps, because it puts St. Maarten on the map, everywhere you go. So I thank you for that. I have a couple comments that I would like to, just some feedback from you guys, and then we'll be able to move forward. I kind of missed exactly what is your goal with this meeting here today. Okay? So I do understand, and I heard that you've done a presentation already to government, and that you've sought some type of endorsement from government. I don't know how far that is and what are the plans with that. But I've also heard that the minister mentioned that she was going to work on an app herself. I don't know how that works. So if you could give us some feedback on that. Then in your presentation, you made mention of insufficient taxis. Now, everyone knows that I am the taxi and bus name mentioned most here on St. Martin. But I'd like you to elaborate a little on that, because that is extremely important. While we were in TEATT, we realized that down Wallet Bay, on a day that there are 2-3 ships, you can't find a taxi to get back up to Phillipsburg, or even try get a taxi 3 o'clock in the night. Not everyone knows how to find a number to call to get a taxi. So just if you could elaborate a little on that. Then a comment, I am extremely happy with the function in the taxi app that it is possible to rate the taxi driver. That is extremely important. Also, if that type of information could be relayed back to the transport authorities here on St. Martin, eventually to TEATT, then conscious decisions could be made on who gets a permit or who is allowed to remain with a permit driving. So that is a real nice function to the app. And you mentioned that the app only works with credit card right now, but you have an option, or you would be able to put a cash option to the app. Debit cards work also? Yes. Okay, good. Then you also mentioned concerning competition with associations. What I most like about the app is that you don't have to be part of an association to join the app, because there are a lot of drivers that are left outside of associations for one reason or the other, but they can still make use of the app and make use of their permit. We continue to speak of revenue generating measures for government. And when I see this app and the back end that you said that would be able to create or give a back end to government, this would be ideal for any driver that wants to seek a loan to be able to go to the bank, because he could now show what his income actually is and not one that he creates himself or fictitiously puts on paper. So that is awesome. I would not know why any driver would not want to be part of the app. Just that feature alone. Then the base price that is in your app, is that the government regulated base price? So I know that there's a markup for service, but the base price is the government, what is allowed by government. Okay? So after you'll get the opportunity to answer all the questions, yes. Then, are you aware of any country where the government owns the taxi app service? That's another question, and maybe you could answer why. Then, yes, I love the discount for the locals, the 25% discount. That is very much needed, and the idea to eradicate the gypsy drivers is perfect. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP La Cruz. I'd just like to mention before I hand the floor over to MP La Vega that all questions you'll be able to answer them after everyone has the floor. So MP Labega, you may take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, good afternoon to my fellow colleagues of Kafir. Good afternoon to everyone here on behalf of SXM Taxi, everyone in Tribune listening at home. First off, thank you for the presentation. It's very enlightening, very, very detailed. A lot of times you hear about the app, but you don't know about all the intricacies that it brings. I have a few questions that I have myself and that I also get from the population. The first one is unlicensed taxis on the app. So you guys clearly explained that you have to go through the process, you have to have your ID, taxi licenses, etc. Is there by chance that these steps can be overridden or bypassed, and there are people that are unlicensed participating? I'm sure one or two have. I myself have seen one or two people without taxi plates doing the service, but just because maybe you don't have a taxi plate, you can have a taxi license. So, we have the discrepancy where a lot of taxi licenses aren't picked up, maybe you don't have the plate. So just for clarity for myself as well as the population, we could explain that a little more in detail. In terms of the fees, MP just asked it, the base price for government fees and the app fees, your service charge will be, I guess, put on top of that, or is that taken into consideration to keep it at that level? So we'll leave more explanation on that. When it comes to concessions, harbor, airport, different places, when we have taxis on the app, taxis by these concessions, they pay a fee to be there. So if I'm on the app and I get a call to go to the airport or the harbor, I go, I pick up my client. Is that a disservice? How do you see that as to the taxis who are paying the concession fee to the airport or the harbor? Is that a disadvantage for them because on the app they're not paying to be there? So that's something I'd like you to touch on. How is that response from the taxis as well as the ones who have the concession to be at these places and pay those fees? The payments of the cashless system, which is great. I would like to know the processing of these cashless payments. Are they via Country St. Maarten, a local bank, or they're processed offshore? When it comes to advertising, there are drivers that advertise the sticker, St. Maarten Taxi. Are only taxis that are registered with the app allowed to advertise, or you guys have other vehicles that's advertising? Because I think a misconception or a perception is if you see the sticker, SXM Taxi, but maybe you don't see the taxi plate, people can consider, oh, are they operating on the app, they don't have the taxi plate, or are they just being paid just to advertise, but they're not participating necessarily with the app? And once again, I would like to know what the main objective is in terms of the support you want from Parliament and exactly what type of support exactly you're requesting from government so we know how to continue dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MP La Vega. I'd like to give the floor to MP Lewis at the moment.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon to the panel from the St. Maarten Taxi app. Good afternoon to the members of Parliament. To those that are in the Tribune, good afternoon, St. Maarten. First of all, I would like to say I'm super proud of the Gum sisters. I had an opportunity in working with you all when I was part of the cabinet of VSR. And you all never cease to amaze me because you have also formed an app at that time as well in order to regulate the COVID situation. So, and that was one of the biggest things that I've seen in St. Maarten. And to see this now, I would not say as a MP, I endorse what you're doing, but as a citizen of this country, born and bred, I am super proud And I think it is publicly known that I support the app as I post stuff pertaining to the app on my social medias. Why? St. Maarten, I see, is also growing into a stage of modernization. We mentioned when we go to different countries, we more use Uber apps. I am one of those individuals that uses local transportations. I also use taxi services. I also use the bus services as well. One time, one person asked me, they say, yeah, so-and-so asked me if you're going a little crazy because they saw me on a bus. It is important that you support your locals in every single way possible to keep the money circulating in our country. And what I can say from this is, it is top tier. I also see the type of vehicles as well. You say that would be part of, if you're in good condition, it is also good. And also the discount now I'm hearing for the local citizens is also good because it will make me want to use the type of services all the time. Ain't all the time I like to drive. What I can ask, or what I would like to ask, what is the support that you're getting? Because I understood that, yes, you did present this to the government of St. Maarten, and I would like to know what is the feedback from our government, seeing that this is generated from local individuals that have great ambitions for this country. I would like more elaboration on that part, because we too, as members of parliament, need to hold our government accountable when we see things are progressing into the country, and we would like to know all the different, because we have a lot of questions. I heard a lot of questions just now from, and they're valid points, from MP Labega. But also, I think it does not necessarily mean if I have on the app, the sticker on my vehicle, means that I am doing Uber services. It's basically I'm supporting the initiative of supporting my local partners as well, my local people, in moving this country forward into a modern world of transportation services. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, MP Lewis. See MP De Wever would like the floor. You may have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, after MP Lewis pretty much said everything that I wrote down based on the presentation, I'm quite limited, but I will mention that from the time I saw ad, I remember seeing the ad with the two sisters, the twin sisters that I've known for a long time. And I was really proud of them because I was like, I don't really know what this is. It says SXM Taxi app, like it's like your first taxi app. I was quite excited for them, but especially because you're celebrating your own to actually step things up here. In the absence of government being able to provide modernization in our transportation, that's when private sector will tend to step in. And I congratulated them without knowing any details whatsoever about how it happened, how things work. I was just very excited to see two sisters doing this. Now, of course, as time goes by and it becomes more popular, you start to hear different comments about it. And one such comment is, whether or not this will put the existing taxis at a disadvantage, because while we are celebrating modernization and technology and leveling things up here in St. Maarten, I was really quite intrigued and interested to hear what the other side of things would be. And even more so because I did once have that post as Minister of TEATT. So when it came to the transportation sector, you really had to accommodate a very eclectic organization. And I'm talking about the various taxi associations, the various bus associations, and making sure, and you could see why there's always been this drive or even a challenge actually in trying to regulate our transportation industry, especially when it comes to routes. Now, at the same time that I'm celebrating technology and the, in consultation with their partners, the GUM sisters, I do want to highlight a couple concerns that persons brought up. And what I did on my own is, because I had already known so many taxi drivers, I make it a habit that every time I come back to St. Maarten, I don't want a family member to pick me up. I take a taxi because as small as St. Maarten is, people don't know my face. So I go into a taxi and sometimes the taxi driver has no idea who I am. And that's okay, I take no offense to it. But I like to actually have that experience that a visitor also gets. And, you know, I went to a lot of them. I went to some in town, I went to some at the airport, I went to some whose car I sat into. And the biggest concern was that it would disadvantage the existing taxis to the point where if those, like, they weren't obliged, it wasn't mandatory for them to go onto this app. It was just by choice. But then because of the popularity of other well-known international applications we can use like Uber, you know, you'll have the new set of persons coming in that will automatically use them outside of the taxi stands coming into an airport. And I want to paint the picture of when a person comes to the island for the first time, maybe through their hotel, maybe through online research, they found out about this app, maybe through their host, wherever it is they're going, they find out about the app, they come, and they go outside of the airport. So it requires the airport to also regulate whether or not they're gonna allow those taxi drivers to be in a taxi stand that pay for their place at the airport, or if they have a separate area for them to pick up. That was number one, right? That you're putting maybe the persons that paid dues at the airport at a disadvantage. That was number one. Number two was anyone could do it. Because just like some MPs have said, you did hear some complaints or maybe statements from taxi drivers that I am seeing non-taxi plates with the taxi app ad displayed on their car somewhere, whether it's an ad or whether it's a sticker. I just want to know what the identifying logo would be. So on Uber and Lyft, you usually see a sticker on their car, but then I want to know what the identifier is there. And do you differentiate between, I know that we're saying it here, but you need to answer those concerns from persons that are seeing the taxi app as a threat to their existence. And what I mean is, if a non-T or taxi plate can hold that license, that is not allowed, if you get what I'm saying. So that the requirement to be part of this taxi app means you have to have an existing taxi license, whether it's a T-plate taxi help driver, that you have that in order to be there. Now, the most interesting, and this is probably my fault for being, well, not my fault for assuming. I thought maybe like the younger taxis would be on the app, not the older taxi drivers. And in my research of persons around, whether it's over the hill or this side of the hill, I was very surprised to see the mix of taxi drivers that actually were on the app. And I don't know how you did that, but however you pulled into it, and I asked, and I didn't mean any offense by it, but I said, wait, are you on the taxi app? And tell me what you think about it. It was to collect data for myself so that I knew exactly, and this was not because of this meeting, because this was before the meeting was called. It was for collection of how our transportation sector is responding to modernization, basically. And I was very, very, very surprised that you have an eclectic mix of people that are on the app. Now, I'm gonna go to the elephant in the room, because as it was also previously mentioned, is that if there are plans for government to prepare an app, and you all already have an app, I just want to know if there is opening for collaboration, because it would be quite unfortunate if an app with partners of locals and yourselves, wherever your partners are from, but you are actively involved in it. The two sisters are actively involved in it, so they're partners in this venture. So we are being represented. So let's just say in layman's terms, my people being represented in it. So I just want to know that there is still dialogue. Like there's still a place for dialogue amongst government and you, because the worst thing that could be done is if you have something like this. And it's not, and I understand that you guys are saying endorsement. I don't know about Parliament outright endorsing, but you know, other people have their ways on their own individually to be able to celebrate this accomplishment that you've actually done, because it is an accomplishment. You are pushing banks to get on board with billing, with, people being able to charge. So the reason this is such a good thing is because you're pushing us to modernize. Now how we modernize to make sure that it's equitable for everyone across the board, that's where we go with it. And that's why I want to make sure that last question, because it's a lot of words in between, that you all are open for a collaboration as opposed to two separate things being formed from a really good idea. Because like the MP said before, if this is a plan of government, I think we're in a position now in this country where we have to collaborate as opposed to separate, because this could actually push us forward. And I'm sure that there's a lot more applications where we could use this. And one of them, I could tell you straight up, is even though some people are doing it and we have now upgraded then our, like the POS systems, the credit card machines, where you can actually tap and stuff, not everyone is like that. And not everyone has the ability to do online processing of payments for their small business at home, whether they're selling shirts, we have that restriction here. So this is why it's a really nice step in the modernization way. Now, I'm going to go down to the technical things that you all mentioned a little bit in the presentation. Now, if we're looking at the way it works, I just want to know, you all already coming from this industry, the sisters are already coming from this industry. And then if there's any way that you can maybe just a little bit share your interaction with your colleagues, because your colleagues are the entire taxi transportation sector, right? Which is what you worked in yourself. So I just wanted to know how you went about explaining it to them, trying to get buy-in, because you obviously did something good when you got a range of taxi, in terms of an age range of taxi drivers, and not just the young ones that are very good at their phone and technology. So I just wanted to see how that goes, because then getting that explanation from you all will then help us to decide, to figure out, well, how do we see this going forward? Do we want to have a dialogue with the, or how do you say, encourage is the word I'm looking for. Encourage, more dialogue with government and more pressure on the government to a certain extent of, well, hey, they're doing it with taxis, why can't we do it with everything else, So I just want to get a little background, if that's okay. Thanks a lot. Sorry for the long talk.
Thank you very much, MP De Wever. I see MP Wever would like the floor. You may have the floor, MP Wever.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, congratulations to each and every one of you sitting there today. I think as local entrepreneurs, I think you've set the bar high, and it shows the professionalism that was put into this app as well. I think all the details are covered. A lot was said by all the MPs before me as well, so I'll just keep it brief. I understand, based on conversation and what was mentioned earlier as well with the endorsement of government or parliament, and parliament, that's kind of what you're looking for. The question would be, what's the need or what's the purpose, right? Is it because of what was said earlier as well, that there's talks about maybe government having an app, and that's why you kind of want the endorsement to be able to prevent, that competition in that sense? But it's just me thinking aloud, but I want to know from your end, what's the need and what's the purpose? And when I think about endorsement, I think the first persons that would want to endorse, and that's most important to endorse, would be the taxi associations. Was that conversations had with them? What were their feedback? Are they open to this app as well? Because I think, thinking about it, once you have them on board, as a private company, maybe agreements can be made with them as well, where some finances can go to the associations directly. I don't know, maybe that might help encourage it to have them more on board. I don't know, but so that would be that question. And then last but not least, MPs before me mentioned as well with the criteria with the plates, the T plates, the taxi plates. Is that also the same criteria when we look at the luxury car section of the app? Because not many, I guess, would have that, or because you mentioned also that you have a criteria with the types of cars when it comes to the luxury end of it. Are they also required to be taxi drivers that happen to have luxury cars? Because that will also narrow down kind of what you're looking at and to prevent others to also tap into that? Or would it be that that aspect of it would be open for more persons? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, MP Weaver. I see MP De Weaver would like the floor once again. You may have the floor.
I won't be long. Thank you, Chair. The last question that I forgot to add, and I saw it there, was how does this app work with the front side? I think I need to see how that's working and accept it, for instance, to be used on the front side. Thanks.
Thank you, MP De Weaver. Seeing that no one else has requested the floor, I'd just like to share some of my comments upon this. I'd like to commend everyone for where we have reached at this moment. The only two things that I may have a little concern about, for one, I've had a specific experience months ago, not with myself, where a friend did use the SXM Taxi app, but was dropped by me in an M plate. Now, he wouldn't know the difference between T and P due to the fact that he's not from the island, but he saw the SXM sticker, SXM Taxi sticker, and trusted, got in the cab, got dropped home. What is being done to enforce that those that do apply to be on the app and have taxi licenses are not using personal vehicles with their M plate and not their taxis with T plate? That was for one. Secondly, if I may ask, moving further, as many have chimed in, what is expected from government? That's something I also want to understand. I see in the presentation it was mentioned about the kiosks at harbor and airport. And I would also like to piggyback on MP De Weaver's statement on the front side as well. So that's it from my side, and I would like to ask you if we need to adjourn in order to give the representatives. Okay, I'm sorry. I see MP York would like the floor, so I'd like to give MP York the floor before I ask. MP York, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we've heard a lot of about the concerns today, and the concerns are quite relevant. But in listening to watching the presentation, I couldn't help but think a bit further than what was already told today, because the panel explained several features that will be coming to the app. I had some questions as it pertains to that, because when I sit back and I think on our real-time problem today, the biggest problem is traffic, right? And when the TEATT minister, when the VROMI minister has been in Parliament, the education minister as well, that traffic topic is something that's on all of their agendas. And when I think on how Uber is used and utilized in the States, and especially in Europe, being the Netherlands, they have a unique, I would say, partnership with the different governments as it pertains to data collection and data usage. Because, for example, a couple of months ago, the VROMI minister explained that he will be commissioning a traffic study, right? A lot of things, when it comes to data collection, Sint Maarten doesn't have an active role in or active mechanisms in place. And when I see the taxi app, I see that as a unique opportunity to make use of it for such features. So basically, when the government talks about mobile inequities, traffic management, traffic congestion, with the real-time feature with taxis, you'll be able to see the average waiting time, because time is money at the end of the day. The average waiting time caused by traffic, what times throughout the day, the traffic congestion throughout the day, even for real estate developers to see where the commuting trends are, and traffic transport planning in its totality. So I would like to know by the panel, are your guys already have a lot of, I would say, sensitive information being collected, but as it pertains to future development, would something of the sort of the things I just named be taken up? Because in the ideas, I heard a couple of ideas about in working with government moving forward. I think the taxi app would be an integral part in the future traffic management system of St. Maarten in some way, shape, form, or fashion, if used the right way, right? So I would like to know our visions aligning, because I don't know if that was something discussed with the government, because I understood the taxi app had a conversation with the government or with a minister or ministers before. I don't, if they could elaborate more if these type of things were discussed or are they still to be discussed. That would, I think that's something where St. Maarten could benefit from moving forward. And lastly, as it pertains to the same sensitive info I was just alluding to, we live in the age of cyber attacks, etc. Does the app have any back-end security system prepared for such attacks or anything like that? Because I understood a lot of sensitive information as being licenses, IDs, those things are being collected. Does the back-end have that extra layer of security in the event of cyber attacks? So that would be it for me, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MP York. So I'd just like to ask the representatives if we need to adjourn this meeting in order for you to answer all the questions, and how much time would you need if so? Yes. Ms. Gums, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would like to ask for 5 minutes, please.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gums. So we will adjourn till 3:40.
Perfect.
Meeting adjourned.
With Francisco.
Thank you very much. We now reopen the meeting, and I would like to give the floor to the representatives of Blackwell Holdings BV to answer the questions posed by the members of Parliament. So who may I give the floor to? Okay, Ms. Gums, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so first I'm going to answer the questions from MP Francisco La Cruz. He asks about the insufficient taxi service. I would say we have insufficient taxi service when it comes to the high season. I'm a member of the DSTA, the Dutch St. Maarten Taxi Association, and in the high season, when they have a lot of ships in, we usually don't have enough taxis to execute the work by the number of guests coming in and the numbers of cruise ships coming in. So that's the reason why I mentioned insufficient taxi service. Why? Because once you have the app on your phone, you could be at the port and there's no taxis in the port. Once you request a taxi, the show will have a taxi in the area to be able to assist those guests. The ratings to be shared with government. We would be able to share any ratings of drivers when it comes to the behavior to the government of St. Maarten if they ask to do so. What is the main objective of this presentation? And what's the support we're looking for? So, the support we're looking for government is not funding, because the app is already working and is already, most drivers already know how to use the app. Me, myself, 24/7, I'm always in the back end of the SXM Taxi app. I'm there to assist any driver at any time when there's any glitch or they need assistance or anything to do with the SXM Taxi app. Our main objective when it comes to government, we would like to partner or work together with the Ministry of CCTEATT so that we could be able to execute this application as the main transportation application here on the island of St. Maarten. All right? Seeing that it belongs to St. Maarten. You asked a question about the cash system. Here in St. Maarten, with the SXM Taxi app, just like how we have a credit system, we could also implement a cash system, whereas the passenger, which is the rider, would receive a ticket, and with that ticket, which will be registered already in the back end of the system, they could give it to the taxi driver. And the taxi driver could also collect their fees with the ticket. All right? So we already have that in place also. How is if it's the base government pricing? What we did when we was creating the SXM Taxi app, because I'm a taxi driver, I know all the fares and rates of every zone here on the island of St. Maarten. What we did when we was creating the application, we took the price list of the Dutch side and the French side and combined it together, all right? To kind of like make sure that the fares is fair for the taxi driver also. So we use the price list of the Dutch side and the French side.
Yes, Mr. Pierre Quadio, you may have the floor.
Thank you. Just to add to the zone pricing, because I know it was one of your questions. So what we did on the technical side of things, we took the zone pricing and we created geofences. We took the map of St. Maarten and we took the zone pricing. So if you went from, let's say, Simpson Bay to Maho, right? We would create the zone, you know, one of those zones, forgive me on the numbers, I'm not exactly sure, but let's say one of the zones is 1 and one of the zones was 5. Zone 1 would have a geofence, Zone 2 would have a geofence, Zone 3, so on and so forth, all the way to Zone 5. And as you crossed through the zones, it would, you know, once the trip was created, once your destination was determined to be, let's say, from Zone 1 to Zone 5, the app knows that, and that's how the app determined the price, which would be the same thing as if a taxi driver was going from Zone 1 to Zone 5. He would know that I'm going from, call it, you know, Maho to Simpson Bay or wherever he's going, and this would be the fare. The fee is calculated exactly the same. The only difference is, which we're transparent about, is that we do charge a 15% service fee and like I said earlier, a nominal transaction fee. So that's it. That's, you go to a restaurant, you pay a 15% service fee, use the app, you pay a 15% service fee. So it's pretty standard. Just to continue, one other thing, you had asked an interesting question. I don't know of any government that runs their own transportation app. So I know you answered that, asked that question, so I'd like to answer that. And with that, I can give it back to Lisa.
Thank you. Ms. Gums, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. I'm going to answer MP LaBega's question. MP LaBega stated if they have any licensed taxi drivers on the app. My answer is no. All right. Unlicensed taxi drivers on the app. My answer is no. First of all, to be accepted on the application, all drivers have to go through a approval process. Me being a taxi driver for over 12 years, I could identify most of them and know most of the taxi drivers here on the island of St. Maarten that I could directly specify whether the driver is a taxi driver or not a taxi driver. Some drivers could even try to put a different taxi number, and I would immediately know whether they put the correct information, yes or no. How can we relate to the taxi members to pay the association when it comes to the association? Every taxi driver that is part of an association, they could be part of more than one association. At the same time, they are ambassadors of the country of St. Maarten. They could be parked in the line of the taxi association, receive a call or a message on their phone, and just leave the line without no explanation to any president of the association or executive board and go and execute the job. All right? Okay, how the taxi drivers feel about the SXM Taxi app? Well, we have a lot of taxi drivers that are on the SXM Taxi app. Just like how we have positive feedback, we have negative feedback. What we do as the panel of the panel of the SXM Taxi, we take the negative and turn it into a positive. So we try to work with all the comments or negative comments of every taxi driver here on the island, knowing that we ourselves are also taxi drivers, and we try to make it into a way that we could work with both negative and positive feedback. We don't have any, our app, everything is island-based. We don't work with any abroad banks. The banks that we work here on the island of St. Maarten is Arco Bank, RBC Bank, and WIB, the Windward Island Bank. Everything is island-based here on the island of St. Maarten, all right? Okay, I want to speak about the advertisement on the taxis, the advertisement on the M plates or the P plates. When we first, when Lil Twin and I first decided to work together with Mr. Pia Quadio in making this project a reality, the first thing I did was send a letter to the Ministry of CCTEATT. Before that, I received a message from Mr. Khalil Raven, which I thank him for that, giving us the opportunity to give a presentation to the government of St. Maarten. We had 2 meetings with the Ministry of CCTEATT. One of them, the minister was included, and the presentation was held in the government building, but the minister was present but wasn't sitting at the presentation. All right? We explained, we brought a proposal forward to work with government, offering them a back end. We never asked government for 1 cent. We never asked government for funding. All we asked for was collaboration. We asked for to be exposed with the St. Maarten Tourist Office. We asked to recognize the SXM Taxi app as the main mobile transportation app here on the island of St. Maarten. All right. The questions of MP Lyndon Lewis. At this moment, we're not receiving any support whatsoever from government. I would like to answer one question that I forgot to answer. I forgot to answer Mr. Dimar Labega. When it comes to the advertisement behind the vehicles, Because we didn't receive no support from anyone, from nobody in government or anyone, we ourselves and my family decided, and Mr. Piaquario decided to pay every taxi driver that would like to advertise the SXM Taxi app $200 a month because we wasn't getting any support from government. That's one. And we decided, and my family decided, to put it also at the back of our main vehicles to create awareness because we wasn't getting any help from anyone either. So the reason why you will see M plates or P plates is because my own family and people that support, even persons that actually works in the government building, had supported us so much, and the people of St. Maarten, that they didn't mind having the SXM Taxi app advertisement in the back of their personal vehicles. All right? All right. I would like to also speak about the advertisement. We also had an advertisement on the airport, which took 10 months to be approved. All right? This advertisement was supposed to be displayed in the arrival area of the airport. It took the airport 1 week to cancel the agreement at the airport. All right? Mr. Mr. Chairman? Sorry, I would like to pass the floor on to Mr. Piaquario.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gomes. Mr. Piaquario, you may have the floor.
So to continue with the temporary advertising agreement that we had with the airport, we went through the whole process. They approved us. We signed a contract to advertise. Actually, our advertisement is still up because as of September 1st, they're taking it down. I received a call, I think it was about 1 week, probably about a week or maybe 10 days after we signed the agreement, that I got a call from airport management that someone from the TEATT office called them and said that they can no longer keep our ad up. They had to cancel our contract. So TEATT called the airport and made them cancel our contract. That's the information that was relayed to me by phone. And then they sent us this cancellation letter. Obviously, this doesn't say that it was from TEATT, but that's exactly what had happened.
All right. All right.
Yes. Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Piaquario.
yes, you can pass it back to
Yes.
Lisa, sorry.
Ms. Gomes, you may have the floor.
All right. To answer the question of MP Weaver, you asked a question about the associations and how the associations could benefit of the SXM Taxi app. Right here, I have two proposals, which I sent to the Airport Taxi Association presidents and the executive board. This contract states not removing the actual dispatching method that they have now, but the contract states how we could create revenues for the association, and also the drivers could benefit from this proposal that we sent to the association, which was offering them for every ride that comes out of the airport or the cruise port to the association $1. All right? The feedback that I got from the president of the associations, I never got a response from the DSTA, which is the president of the St. Maarten Taxi Association. I did get a response from the president of the airport stating that they held a meeting with the minister and stated that they will go along with what the minister is offering them. That was the feedback. So I have the two proposals if you guys would like to review that. Also the letter of the
Just a reminder, just through the chair, yeah?
Oh,
Please.
yeah, through the
Just
chair.
Please, thank you.
Can I
Go ahead,
continue?
yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So we also offer the associations through the chair, right? The association to be able to install kiosks at the dispatch area at both associations so that it could be a lot more easier when guests are coming in to hail a taxi. Yeah. And to also create revenues for the taxi drivers. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would like to pass the floor down to Mr. Piaquadio.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gomes. Mr. Piaquadio, you may have the floor. Yes, you may have the floor.
Oh, okay, thank you. MP DeWeaver, you had asked, will we put the current taxis at a disadvantage if we were to, because we're at the airport and the port, and so they can use the app. The answer is no, based on the fact that, you know, you're offering another service to passengers who maybe just don't want to use a line system. They're used to using applications in other situations. You know, one of the reasons why we want to collaborate, and this is one of your other questions, could there be a collaboration effort, is for this exact reason. You know, we want to streamline the whole system so that, you know, there is no competition, right? So it's not about, well, we have an app and some of the clients are going to use the app and some of them are going to use the line system. You know, our thought process and our goal is to figure out a way to work with government, the associations, whoever, to streamline the process and make it much easier for the riders, create a revenue stream for the associations, and at the same time, you know, give the drivers additional flexibility based on the fact that, you know, they won't have to sit there all day long and wait in lines. So, you know, we can do a virtual queue system, right, which gives them the freedom to put themselves into the queue when they want to work at the airport. And you know, if they're on another job, the app will alert them and say, okay, your turn is coming. Get to the airport. You know, and you know, so there's a lot of different options we can do to create advantages rather than compete. We would much rather collaborate. So that, I think that answers both of those questions. You had asked also about the non-taxi plates and the ads on taxis. Lisa had addressed that already. This was interesting. I'm going to pass it back to Lisa for this one, but how are the taxi drivers responding and how did we get the range of different ages? And I'm going to let Lisa answer that one. And the French side also, Lisa, you can answer both of those.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gomes, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, so because Ms. Gomes, little twin, Will carry Alicia Gomes, and I are taxi driver for a very long time. Before we even brought the app forward, we was always speaking to the drivers, asking them what do they think about us coming up with a taxi app. We was also schooling them, showing them like how it would work. I also stayed up numerous nights showing the drivers how you could use the app, how it is in the States, how you could use it here on the island of St. Maarten. So it pretty much took a lot of my time and dedication, one by one, to teach them how to use the app and how would it benefit them. All right? How does the app work on the front side? The apps work fine on the front side. We don't have much drivers of the front side using the app. We do have some that have a Dutch account, right? That we can pay them through their Dutch account because everything is on the Dutch side base. And if we're doing transaction from the Dutch side to a French side account, it takes a couple of days for it to drop on their account. So we kind of like ask the drivers who are part of the French side, guys, can you get a current account from the Dutch side so it could be much more easy for your payment, which drivers get paid 12 hours after they pick up the job, yeah? That's so that they could also know that we have a system in place with a budget in our back end to make sure that the drivers are paid on time. Is there a place for dialogue to collaborate? Yes. We would like to work with government. We would like to partner with government in every which way so that we could also show them how we could benefit them as government and how it would be also beneficial to St. Maarten. Yeah? Mr.
Yes, Mr. Piaquadio, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to add to what Lisa had said also, in collaboration with the government or some sort of partnership or whatever, everything that we do is, our fares, our fees, so on and so forth. We're running it now based on what we need to survive. But, the more volume that we're able to generate, we can adjust our fees to make them even more reasonable than they are now. If that would help the partnership or the collaboration get off the ground. So I just want to make that clear. We're not opposed to working with the government on a larger scale. It's supply and demand. The more supply we have, the less we can charge. Simple. So I just wanted to make that clear before Lisa continues. Go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gomes, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, so I'm going to answer the question of MP Virinkotai. You spoke about a friend of yours got into a taxi with an M plate, right? So we have the TEATT department, which if a taxi driver have an issue with their vehicle, they can go to that department, have a document drafted up stating, listen, my vehicle is down, I will be using this vehicle for now. Most part, they have to have the taxi plate on the vehicle. They have some drivers that does just overlook that does have it probably on the windshield, or they just have it inside of their car. So I understand the concern when it comes to that. But is also an issue that the TEATT traffic department have to enforce when it comes to that, because some taxi drivers knows that the vehicle is down and are legal taxi drivers and still, out of negligence, drives without the taxi plate on the specific vehicle. Yeah? All right. So I want to answer the question of Mr. Weaver. You asked, what's the need or the purpose for endorsement or collaboration? I think I answered that question already with a previous MP. When it comes to the collaboration or endorsement, we're not asking for funding. We're just asking for collaboration with government to actually market, display our application as the main application here on the island of St. Maarten, Mr. Weaver. All right. Through you, Mr. Chairman, can I pass the floor on to Mr.
Thank you, Ms. Gomes. Mr. Piaquadio, you may have the floor.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Weaver, to answer your other questions, the conversations that were had with the associations, Lisa had showed, we sent them a proposal, we were in conversation with them. And so, hopefully that conversation can continue after this meeting. We're open for collaboration with them especially. And the final question that you asked, are luxury vehicles required to have taxi license? The answer is yes. Any and all, was that, no? It was you, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, the answer is yes. We require everybody that's using the app to have driver's licenses. Now we're going to add a island tours feature to the app as well in the future, and once we do that, T plates will also be allowed, but they will only be for tours, right? So I hope that answers your questions. And finally, I think we had a couple of questions from MP York. Can we help with traffic data for future development to share with government? Yes, absolutely. The backend is fully customizable, so we can do, basically when you're dealing with these kind of electronic apps, I mean, sky's the limit. If we can think of it, we could probably make it happen. So it's just a matter of what the government needs or requests from us, and then we just have to, if it's not already built into the system, we just have to build it in. And as far as our back-end security systems, we don't collect any credit card data in our application. All of that goes through the processor, which we use PowerTrans, which is tied into RBC. So they're the ones that actually collect the data. They plug it into our system, but we don't hold on to it. So we don't have any physical data. It's all in the Powertrans system, and they're super secure backend. As far as the IDs and the names of the passengers and stuff like that, I mean, we have the necessary firewalls and protected servers. But again, that, you know, that stuff is, security is expensive, right? So, the more robust we get, the more, the more we can up our security, based on, our revenue models. I'll pass it back to Lisa.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gomes, you may have the floor.
All right. I would like to say something through you, Mr. Chairman, to the members of Parliament. I was very surprised that no member of Parliament actually asked how many shares the twins or myself owns and huh?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, so just to interject.
Yeah, because I know it was a question that was always asked, that's why.
No, so
Okay.
just to interject.
Okay.
It's quite personal, so
All right.
You may just continue on, Ms. Gomes.
Okay. So I would like to thank all the members of Parliament here. Oh, all right. Through you, Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Gomes, for the answers. I do see some members of Parliament would like the floor to follow up, so I would give MP Lacruz the floor at this moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have no other choice but to get extremely agitated by hearing some of the answers that were provided today. And, I have always considered it to be, whenever I heard about a taxi app, the crab in a bucket mentality. The lack of creativity from some, but always ready to take somebody else's idea and try to, break it. And I have a problem with that. I ask specific questions, and I ask them for this reason. Airbnb cannot be regulated on St. Maarten because of one reason, which is government cannot collect on behalf, or no one can collect on behalf of government. So, an app that will be ran by government on St. Maarten will need a lot of legislation, and I don't see that happening. But the frustration that it causes you guys by taking 9 months to reply for a permit, directly calling, and now I'm kind of wondering how that actually really took place, because TEATT speaks to the holding, or COM to holding, which speaks to management, which then speaks to anyone who has contracts with the airport. So that a call was made directly from the ministry to the airport instructing, that is not how things should be. Okay? Collaboration and to be branded the main, right, I think is somewhat, I don't see government saying it's fair that you guys would be the only persons that could bring an app, okay, as private, okay? So expecting that, I know that is a lot to ask, but an endorsement on our tourist page, on government page, stating, hey, this is a legit entity, and it's the first one. What is the problem, literally, with endorsing locals? I've asked the question. I had a personal talk with Ms. Gomes, and I asked her, I'm hearing that the app belongs to people outside, and you showed me the documentation. You showed me the documentation on how it went before, and that you have acquired more shares in the time. So that literally tells me that one day, right, the app might belong 100% to the twins, the Gums twins. That makes me happy. There is no need to deal with your prices because it is not mandatory to take the taxi app to be able to use a taxi. So if I want, I could take a normal taxi and pay what that pays and don't pay the fees that are paid to the taxi app. So please stay away from that talk. Your prices are your prices, your cost of operation. No one tells the government you're not allowed to, 10 guilders is too much to ask for a stamp. We're still paying 25 cents for a GB stamp while no documents are being paid, given. And on your receipt, you see a stamp duty. So please don't do that. Don't go there. It is your business, and it is extremely discouraging to any young person, any local, to hear what you have been going through, to be able to establish something that exists practically everywhere else around the world. It is crazy. I award you. Many would have given up. And I thank you for pushing and getting to where you are today. I have not received a sticker. I would like a sticker to put on all my vehicles. Thank you for clarifying also about the M plates, because that is exactly the problem that we encountered when we were in TEATT. Everyone wants to push the work away, and those that are being paid to do the work are looking for ways to getting out of it. The confirmation letters. Please note that between this week and next week, a letter will go out inviting the minister to finally, let's finalize this talk about the taxi and the bus permits, because I have a lot to say. This is going to end. At some point, this government, the government after that, needs to think about how they're going to encourage our locals to be able to start up their own businesses. This is demotivating, and it's unacceptable. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, MP La Cruz. I'd like to give the floor to MP Lewis at this time. MP Lewis, you may have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, MP La Cruz said a lot. Sometimes I just wonder if he's eavesdropping and watching my laptop to see what I'm going to say. Some people like to say, sometimes we sit here, we grandstand, but I would like to say the passion that I have for representing the people of my country. With regards to this app, it simplifies life. It's not only bringing us into, from what I understand, into the modern age, it makes life simple. Meaning you don't have to wait. I know of instances where you have to wait for a taxi for how long. If you have a specific person you call, if you're saying at Sunset, they take a long time before one comes, but there's a taxi there that you can also take to move. The app shows you the location of how soon the person is going to reach. It simplifies life. But sitting here and listening to what I've just heard, those who know me, because I've represented a lot of people even in the courthouse in this country, or even to mitigate and to mediate for them, and to hear something that Justine sitting right with me sounds like victimization against local entrepreneurs. How is it possible that an agreement was made with the airport of St. Maarten? I am going to learn that it took about 10 months for an answer, for an approval, but within a week, it was canceled. I am going to sit here as a representative of this country and also hear that a discussion was held with the minister. Now, I do not know if that is so, but I will have to inquire. That the minister is now proposing, there's a possibility of another app. To each their own. If there's another taxi driver or someone else in the transportation business would like to be a competition, I think it is healthy. Okay, competition is healthy, people. This is not a dictatorship. It is a democracy, and people have the rights to choose what they want to choose. But when we have leaders of the country, because I think I was minister when you came in and did that presentation. I think it was last year. I don't know if it was last year you all did that. And yes, and I crossed one of you in the government building. And you told me about the initiative that you brought to the minister. Now we are nearly a year later. This app has been pushing. I see advertisements going out. We had discussions also personally on this app. And I applaud you all for it, and many others do. A lot of people are afraid to join new ventures. You know why? Because my colleague was just saying like a crab in the bucket. St. Maarten is very small. People don't travel to have the type of experience some of us do have. But when it comes to individuals that run in our government that also have affiliations with possibility with businesses, etc., this is the type of nonsense I'm going to hear. I do not know if 10% needs to be paid somewhere for somebody to get something. But that type of behavior, to me, has to stop. At the end of the day, these young individuals need an opportunity to showcase themselves, to showcase that St. Maarten have it, because I'm also an entrepreneur. Okay? I have worked for this government for 18 years. But I'm also a French citizen in this country, and I also wanted to contribute to the French community. Because St. Maarten is one island. So what I did, I opened my own establishment as well. So I feel what you're feeling because I'm a businessman. I'm a small businessman that are also growing and did not get a cent from no establishment for investment. And when I mentioned about support from government to you, I wasn't even talking about if government will grant you something to start up your app. The support of being the endorsement, yes, to say, listen, this is a legitimate company that is going to promote St. Maarten on another level, that the tourist office itself, when promoting St. Maarten abroad, can also promote this app also abroad to visitors alike. Because we have seen in the past where we had a lot of gypsies. It helps cut down the gypsies as well. We had a lot of gypsies on the island were clashing with taxi drivers. And by promoting this app, it can also avoid, because again, everything nowadays, we're trying to come into a cashless system. That is what the countries all over the world are doing, where they're doing more credit cards, more swiping than using cash. And Americans and Europeans are more proponent to use their credit cards with that sense. So I don't understand, Chairman, through you, what is really going on in our country. If the allegations that I hear is so, needs to still be investigated. But again, this is the first app that I know about. I do not know if there's anything else out there other than this app. and we should be proud that the initiative came from locals, not from people outside looking in. We have enough rich and wealthy individuals that come in and invest in this country and take in what is ours. But we have something today, Mr. Chair, that we can call our own. Because I can call that app. I didn't have to be an initiator to that app. That app belongs to St. Maarten. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, MP Lewis. I would like to give the floor to MP De Wever at the moment.
Thank you, Chairman. There's some of us that have details, some of us that don't know details. But again, we are missing a layer of government representation here. So I just want to make sure that, we all understand that as well. And if I could leave you with any advice, is to keep the lines of communication open, because you've already been given a license to exist, right? So, and you've already proven to us that you can organically grow this company, which you have done already. And in the absence of anything else coming, or whatever's coming from, whether you could call it competition, whether it's private or public, however it happens, I do think that at this point, my only recommendation to you all will be to continue improving the app and sort of covering the weaknesses in the industry that exists. And a perfect example would be, while you all were presenting, I went in and I looked up taxi rates, right, to see if what everybody could give me in the sense of information. And then like the first one that pops up is like SXM Taxi rates. And then I think I'm on the tourism office website. I think I'm on SHTA. So I have to go far in between to do it. But everyone is representing the information in a different way. So for me, the first thing I'm looking at is this is so much information for my coming into my eyes and for processing that I'm like, well, which one's real, right? So this is which one is they pretty much are the most, but when it comes to the display of it, the visualization of it, it gets very complicated. And if people are coming here and they're doing this research, you can see why they get lost in it. And this is the point of me telling you, keep the lines of communication open, because you're obviously catering to something that was missing. But in the absence of the transportation sector being regulated the way people have been asking for a long time, you'd be surprised at what you can influence by having consistent information. So I know that you all said, I don't want to use the word endorsement. I think in the conversations that came up before, so going back to these websites, I see that you do see on the tourism website, the tourist office website, that they are listing restaurants, names, like they're giving you different information. Because at first my reaction was this, and I want to say this because we are public. At first my reaction was, well, government can endorse a company because then that's an unfair advantage to that company. But then in listening, I was like, well, it's not an endorsement. It's actually equal treatment to all the other businesses that are doing the same work. So I wanted to make sure that I clarify that understanding that an endorsement is not being requested. It's basically presentation the same way how we'd have a list of hotels, a list of restaurants, a list of shopping malls, a list of jewelry stores, breaking it down by category. So I get that. I just wanted to say it here in case that story went on its own. And then I will just go back to your already organic growth. Continue doing it the way you're doing it. I know that you said, you explained something about the French side, that people are being, required or advised to get bank accounts over here. It does get a little bit tricky on it, but are you registered on the French side at all? I don't know if you're comfortable asking that, because I also want to make note that some of the items that we brought up as topics here are very sensitive, and some kind of maybe close to like speculation. That's why I said we don't all have the information. So I just wanted to be careful with what you all share and what we continue as a dialogue in return. But at the end of the day, and after all of this presentation, you all did get a license to exist. the point of your business was there and accepted. You are not operating illegally. So like for me, what I focus on now is, well, you all have the authorization to operate. You have already been growing organically, so just keep pushing that way. Because it's kind of like the, charter boat companies that are organically growing. Yes, they end up being on a list, but it's, maybe we're in this sort of like storming part of all of this, but just keep it up. You're doing a good job. You know that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to bringing the transportation sector together, and you're already doing that this way. So just keep it up, and good luck.
Thank you very much, MP De Wever. I now give the floor to MP Labega.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, thank you to Sint Maarten Taxi for the answers. I think that the conversation is shifting to a blame game, locals, foreigners. We're not supporting locals. I, for one, support all entrepreneurs. I, for one, am an entrepreneur myself. Some businesses work, some don't. We inject money ourselves, we don't. I'm for the idea, right? Everywhere we go in the world, we use Uber, we use taxi services. Now, I don't know how the initial conversations went between TEATT and your organization in the beginning, or when it was. I've listened to it every now and then on the radio, interviews, things like that. But I believe it's a negative connotation, so to speak, where it's the app against TEATT. TEATT ideas are not flowing with your ideas, but at the end of the day, like the MP just stated, we have to keep the dialogue open, and it doesn't make sense to create a narrative where we're fighting each other. And I don't know why we're a local app, we're a local business, we know. So I don't want to me, it's coming off where if TEATT has a disagreement on some matters that can be discussed, the disagreements are because we're against locals, or TEATT's against locals, government's against locals. I believe it's a great idea. The ministry stated that they're working on something similar. I don't have details on that, but I believe conversation should be had, right? And it should be had from both sides, from an openness. Let's say a refreshed view, right? So I don't think we should take what happened, what was said, I don't know what was said before, into a new conversation. You have new data since that initial conversation months ago or a year ago. I know it's been a while. So take that new data into the conversation, hear what the government now has to say, and we simply see what the possibilities moving forward. But I don't like it when MPs are here trying to make it as if it's a government versus locals or not. I don't see it like that. You guys have a product. The product is working. Revisit the government, revisit the entities, and you try to make it work from there. Take the advice, come back, and you keep it kosher. All right. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much, MP Labega. I see MP Jansen-Webster would like the floor. You may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to our guests here today, and to the people in the Tribune and those listening at home. I just wanted to say, as starting entrepreneurs in this venture, you can expect to get pushback. When Uber started, there was a whole lot of pushback. I mean, with the yellow cabs in New York, everywhere every state that they went into, there was pushback. So all you have to do, the product that you have, it's a good product. I like your product for sure. Just keep going, just keep pushing, and you keep going, keep your head straight, and keep doing what you do. I just had one question about the local pricing, and when you mentioned that, I think it's a color will pop up, and then the driver will see that this one is a discounted local price. Do they then have a choice? Because I know that normally on Uber you can see the driver chooses which ride he's going to take. Sometimes he's offered maybe 5 rides and he chooses which one he's going to take. The same way, if a local pops up, what we've seen before is when the buses had the senior rate, like my mom would say, she would park her car down on Pamphlet to go to the doctor. She would take the bus up. But all the buses would pass her straight because they would see that she is a senior rate person. So do the people have, the drivers have a choice then to skip the locals and go take the tourists that would be more lucrative? So that's my question. And also regarding the airport, if the airport taxi organization does not agree to work with you, then I can imagine that the drivers attached to your organization would not be able to come in on the airport. So are you looking at an alternative pickup location then for them? Those are the two questions that I have, but my whole thing is keep pushing and continue doing what y'all are doing. And I would be willing also to share your website or anything like that. You just let me know, and I too will promote it because it's a local business and we need to get behind each other. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Janssen Webster. I will first give the floor to MP La Cruz, and then I'll give it over back. Yeah, so MP La Cruz, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't want anyone to leave here with a notion that MP La Cruz said that you should not try to talk to government. Okay? At no point, none of that was said. I am simply saying it is a shame that it went this way. And I know we can do better. I know we can do better, and I expect better. That is simply what is being said today. Again, push, like some of the other members also said, keep doing you, because nobody is going to do it for you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP La Cruz. I see no one else has requested the floor. MP York, before I give my final statements, would you like the floor? No? Okay, I see MP Waiver would like the floor. MP Waiver, you may have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, also want to congratulate you guys once again. I think you guys answered it very thoroughly and to the point. You guys really know what you guys are doing, right? So I congratulate you on that. Also, Mr. Chairman, I think it was mentioned by Ms. Gums that some documents would also be given to us, shared, the proposals to the taxi associations and stuff like that. If we can get that as well, maybe. That way we can also go through it to kind of know, okay, where are you guys at? What are you going through? Because in Parliament, we tend to get a lot of different information, so to have the facts there as well in case it ever comes up. Thank you. And also keep pushing. Yeah.
Thank you, MP Waiver. So if you'd like to answer some questions, I'd like to give the floor to the representatives of Blackwell Holdings to answer the questions posed by the members of Parliament. So whom may I give the floor to? Okay. Yes, Mr. Piacaro, Piaquadio, you may take the floor.
Okay, just to answer MP Webster's question, do the drivers have the option to skip the 25% discount for the locals? And the answer is yes. You know, they are accepting those fares voluntarily. It's less than the normal fare that they would accept. So we want to, you know, when we implemented it, we let them know we're going to put this in for locals. If you're not busy, well, we have a lot of drivers on the platform. So, you know, when they're not busy, the ones that are not busy, I don't have a fare right now. Okay. Oh, well, this one's close to me. Let me just go take this 25% off fare. Boom, he picks them up, takes them where they got to go, and then he can take his next ride. So yes, the answer is they do have the option. They're not forced. We never force any driver to take any ride anyway. So it's kind of, you know, a feature of the app that's built in. Will we still be able to pick up at the airport? Just, I wanted to answer that. Based on our situation with the airport, we've always been able to pick up at the airport. There's never been anyone that's told us, your drivers can't come into the airport to pick up passengers that want to use the app. As far as I know, it's a pretty free situation as far as who can pick up who, similar to if I wanted to go pick up somebody there, I can, right? So, you know, it was only, yeah, it was only due to the advertising in the actual airport where we submitted our ad. It was up at the carousels where the baggage claims come in. And as of September 1st, they're taking those down. So that's the only situation that we had as far as our dealings with the airport.
Yes.
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Would you like the floor, Ms. Gomes? All right. With that said, does anybody else on the member have anything else that they would like to add? Okay. MP Jansen Webster, you may have the floor.
Yes, I'm hearing Mr. Pierre Quadio mention again about the advertising on the airport, and I think that really it's something that we should get to the grounds of and find out what exactly happened, because I know our airport even advertises for the tourist board of Anguilla. So why can we not advertise a St. Maarten taxi app? I know I would be interested in knowing what the airport says about, you know, the reason that paid advertisement can't take place or why it's canceled. I just would like to know more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Jansen Webster. Ms. Gomes, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to also answer MP Jansen's question. Just give another piece of information. When we signed the contract with the airport, we never even added a QR code to the advertisement. We only added the SXM Taxi app with the logo and just at the bottom download the app without even a QR code. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Gomes. I'm just going to ask if there are any more comments to close from your side. Yes, you may take the floor, Ms. Gomes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to let all MPs know that we have all the documents here just in case they wanted to see it personally, as well as the proposals to the associations, all the personal information from the SXM Taxi app, the shareholders registry, just in case they would like to see it personally so that they don't go public. We also have the proposal what we had sent to government also, and the letter what we received from the airport.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Gomes. And seeing that there are no further comments, I'd just like to close with saying I think it's a bit concerning that we are creating a perception as if local businesses are not being supported. So definitely some clarity is needed on the topic at hand, especially about the specific contract at the airport. I think the way forward is receiving clarity from the Minister of TEATT by myself sending her a letter. And furthermore, the question at hand, really, from what I'm getting from this, is about government creating an app that is similar. I would like to understand moving forward what type of collaboration can be done in cohesion with us from the minister, if possible, and for the growth of the sector, of course, and what are the obstacles of doing so, if agreed upon. I'd just like to close and say congratulations on what you have achieved thus far for creating a new addition that can better our tourism product as a whole. And thank you for your presentation to the members of Parliament today on the floor. And by saying this, I'd like to close this meeting. And I would like to thank once again the representatives of Blackwell Holdings BV for their presence here today and for providing all the necessary information and answering our MPs. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this meeting. I will thank you all for your participation, and I hereby close this committee meeting.